I know, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be there. Oh, Mommy had to. Well, it was good seeing, talking to you.
Enjoy it up there in the summer. I'll be thinking about you when it's warm here.
Like they ask everybody to
I'm sure. Leave that cool weather. Miss Peggy?
The people that are new here, the restrooms are down the hall. Quick right, quick left, and you're right into them. There's cold drinks in the refrigerator, hot drinks on the table in the back. The food's usually for after the service, but I'm sure some people taste it. We need that as much as anything else, so just enjoy yourself while you're here. Have a good time. I'm Reverend Steve Adkins, I'm the pastor. And I'd like to have, I didn't ask anybody to light the candles yet. Ann, would you like to light the candles? Ann belong.
Okay, mental note. I put the candles in, I forgot to put the wick. Yeah! Mental note, I need out.
Please stand for the invocation and then standing for the first one.
Thought you and Joe ran away with each other.
I didn't see Joe.
Dear Father God, we give thanks for this time here today. May we relax our minds, let go of all that drove us here and all that's waiting for us when we leave. May we allow ourselves to feel the joy and peace that's here for us today. Your presence, your love.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Marty, and this is a beautiful day, huh?
Yes.
We're going to sing hymn 12, the last one in the yellow book, for the beauty of the earth. Oh, I just found out from Reverend Steve we have a new hymnal. So, for the beauty of the earth is still the last page, but now it would be called hymn 19, which means we have added new treasures in this book. So, hymn number 19 on the back page, for the beauty of the earth.
I don't see A. What is it?
Full of beauty of the earth, for the beauty of the skies, for the love which from our birth over and around us lies. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise, for the beauty of each hour of the day and of the night. Hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise, for the joy of human love, brother, sister, parent, child, friends on earth and friends above, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Lord of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise, for thy church that evermore lifted holy hands above, offering upon every shore
Hopefully soon we'll have our co-pastor doing it, but now it's the pastor. This is where I talk about something that's come across my mind and consciousness in the past week, and I've tried to put it into a spiritual perspective through something I'm trying to bring into my life. We read, we study, we hear a lot of spiritual thoughts, spiritual perspectives, but until we practice them in the world around us and take a little risk with them, it doesn't really seat within our consciousness, and we don't really understand it until we experience it. This past week, I was thinking about how you make a lot of efforts to try to get things working well in your life, to resolve old issues, to bring in new things. And when the new things come in and they start rolling along, you take a breath and sit back and go, I'm going to take it easy now. Just let them ride, let them run. And the problem with that is that it's okay to enjoy your blessings and to have fruits of your labor. But if you get too relaxed, they tend to run out. These kind of spiritual things require renewal. They require continual effort as you move along. I don't like to say effort because it's a joy when you're working with spiritual things. And what I figured out somewhat this week was that the key to keeping things working well is just to be vigilant about who you are and what you are at the beginning of each day. And I'm not talking about meditation. I'm talking about taking a personal assessment of who you are and what you are, what happened yesterday, what may be happening today, and just kind of try to get yourself settled and seated in how you expect to face the day coming. And if there's no efforts, no events that you are aware of, just sit within the presence, feel the presence of God with you and Spirit with you, and try to have that be what's part of you. I think that a lot of the time what I forget is that there's a spiritual me that I have to connect to. It's real easy to believe in angels and spiritual beings outside of yourself, but when you take time to try to connect to the spiritual you that's really you, that's a whole different story. And sometimes that's a little difficult to make because it tends to be a bit foreign to me sometimes. I'm not sure what that part of me is or where that part of me is. So I've started doing a little more work with that, trying to connect to the spiritual me rather than the conscious me. And I guess that's kind of like when you're a worker, a service worker of any kind, it's real easy to help other people and fix other people, but when you try to fix yourself, it's a whole different ballgame. And that's kind of like connecting to your own spirit. I do mediumship, I do healing, and I can not easily, but I can connect to spirit outside of my own mind. But connecting to my own spirit tends to be a bit of a challenge. And I guess it's the same dynamics of helping other people rather than helping yourself sometimes. So this is the perspective that I've been trying to get into. And like I said, a lot of that, once you bring that spiritual you to the front of your mind and your world's working with it and acting with it, and it's a living part of your life, what happens, like I said, is I tend to just sit back and coast and just let it take its own course, which is a mistake. You have to constantly be in charge. You have to be holding yourself, taking a daily assessment of who you are and what you are. And I'm not talking about beating yourself up and challenging yourself. Just take time to figure out who you are and what you want to be in the coming day. And be kind to yourself. Don't be critical of yourself. Build on the positives. Build on the hope of your life rather than the difficulties of your life. And if you build from a place of hope and happiness, the day is much nicer. There's always going to be difficulty and challenges in our life. It's the nature of this realm. It's the nature of the world that we live in. To have limitations, to take extra effort to make things happen. Spirit's there all the time, everywhere, just naturally as a part of your nature. So I guess in summary, I'm just trying to get back to the nature of who I am, the spiritual nature of my own self, not the world around me, but my own spiritual nature that drives me more intimately than anything else. Thank you for listening. Please stand for the next step.
You're going to sing hymn 6. That is Near My God Today. Hymn number.
The rest of the service, Ashklhen going to be chairing the lecture today. So I'll have Ashklhen take over the chairing the service for the rest.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome, everybody. Our service is comprised of 3 parts. First is the healing and the guided meditation. Second is the inspirational lecture. And third is the demonstration of spiritual gifts. So we will begin with the first portion of the service, which is the healing. I would like to ask Judy. Lorraine, Karen, to do the healing and the way it works. During the meditation, if you hear the sound of this chime, that means the chair has become available to receive hands-on healing. We do have reserved chairs in the back if you would like to go ahead and wait in those chairs. And then you will be guided to the healers as a space becomes or a healer becomes available. And for those who would like to sit through the meditation, I will guide them with the healing meditation. Before we do that, let's turn to the page behind your hymnals for healing prayer. Prayer for spiritual healing. Let us read together. I ask the great unseen healing force to remove all obstructions from my mind and body and to restore me to perfect health. I ask this in all sincerity and honesty, and I will do my part. I ask this great unseen healing force to help both present and absent ones who are in need of help, and to restore them to perfect health. I put my trust in the love and power of God. Just find a comfortable position to sit where there is no tension on your physical body. Relax your body, relax your feet, relax your knees, relax your shoulders. You may close your eyes and turn within. Take in a deep breath, inhale and exhale. With your exhale, let go. If there is any tension in your physical body, if you are experiencing any aches or pain. With your exhale, just breathe it out. Let go of the thoughts that are on your mind. If you have any worries, any concerns, something is just occupying your mind at this time. Again, with your exhale, just breathe it out. Let it go for now. Bring your attention to your breath. as you connect deeper with your breath. You feel all the thoughts flying away, just leaving your mind. Follow your breath. With each inhale and exhale, feel your breath flowing throughout your entire body, circulating from head to toe. Feel the slow motion of your breath that is flowing. Your body becoming more and more relaxed, and your mind quiet. Follow your breath. That is taking you deeper and deeper within yourself to a very peaceful and quiet space within you that feels calm, quiet, and soothing. Connect with this space while you breathe. Repeat to yourself gently, I am at peace within and with my surroundings. With each inhale and exhale, I am at peace and with my surroundings. Feel the peaceful sensations flowing along with your breath. Feel the quietness of your mind and the calmness of your body. For your body and your mind are in alignment with your peaceful breath. Embrace this peacefulness and the quietness, and be still. Just be still with it. While you breathe, shift your awareness slowly higher, higher to your forehead and above your head. And connect with your higher self in the presence of brilliant and bright golden light. Become aware of your higher self. As you connect, there are no thoughts in this state of consciousness. It is a state of pure and perfection. Become aware of your higher self. And with your high state of awareness, as you connect, envision a flow of beautiful golden energies coming from up above, the divine source, down to the crown of your head, circulating in and around your forehead, healing and clearing the mental body. Release and let go of all the thoughts that are limiting your highest potentials. Release and let go of all the thoughts that are interfering with your spiritual growth. Release and let go. And see this divine healing energy activating your infinite creativity, your infinite potentials. Feel this energy activating your spiritual senses, your spiritual sight, spiritual hearing, and spiritual sensing, feeling. Feel the energy circulating around your two hemispheres. Become aware of your creative mind, the mind of God, where all the divine knowledge and wisdom is stored. See this energy activating your creativity, where you become aware of this infinite knowledge and wisdom that is within your soul and spirit. Focus on your right hemisphere for a minute. This is where your intuition is. As you become aware of your intuition, there you will find all the answers to your questions. Your intuition is your inner whisper, the voice of your Creator that speaks to you gently, in quietness. Your intuition is the truth that speaks to you. The inner voice that seeks your highest good and the highest good of all. Become aware of your inner whisper. Ask, and you shall receive. For all the answers to your questions are within. Ask, the answers are revealed to you. Trust. Trust that inner guidance that is coming through. Trust the inner wisdom that whispers to you. As you become aware of this presence, and with the knowing that God is in action within you always. Surrender to the will of God. In times of need, for direction, for decision making, ask your Creator. Become aware of that connection that is always there. And the presence of God is dominant within each consciousness, within each soul, within each human. Surrender to the will of God. With God, all things are possible. There are things that we do not understand as human. But with God, all things are possible. In times of need and despair, ask God to give you the serenity to accept the things that you cannot change, to give you the courage to change what you can change, and the wisdom to know the difference. Have faith. Surrender to the will of God. Let thy will be done, God, in the highest hills. Let thy will be done. As above, so below. Let thy will be done. Feel the solar energy rushing down to your physical body. Touching and healing all the organs in your physical body. Renewing the tissues, the cells. See this energy circulating gently within your body, moving around the electrons, the protons, the molecules. Envision every single atom in your body vibrating with this divine healing energy. As it moves, it heals, it clears the blockages from your body, your mind, and your spirit. It cleanses and purifies and strengthens your bond and your connection with your higher self, with God, with infinite intelligence and infinite awareness. Feel the energy rushing down slowly to your lower body, to your knees. Down to your legs, moving gently down to your feet. See it going out through the soles of your feet and anchoring you to the earth. Feel the energy as it moves within you and expands around you, filling your entire aura with this beautiful, vibrant, golden light that is constantly nurturing, neutralizing your body while you breathe in and breathe out. Feel yourself inside this beautiful golden light, stabilizing your electromagnetic field. Feel your body's physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual are being touched and healed by the power of God and this healing energy. They're all in alignment, in harmony and peace with your higher self, with your perfect self, and with the knowing that all is well, all is perfect, and all is in divine order. Embrace your divinity. Allow your light to shine. And know that you are the light of God that never fails. You are the love of God that never ends. And wherever you are, just be the light that you are. Be the love that you are. Embrace your divinity and the perfection of your spirit. Feel your breath, your peaceful breath, bringing you back to your physical body. Engage with your physical senses. Become aware of your feet, your hands. When you are ready, you can open your eyes. Come back to the here and now. Please stand up for the next hymn.
Sing hymn number 13, Kumbaya. Hymn number 13, with our wonderful new hymn books. This is good. Absolutely. Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya, Kumbaya, my Lord, Kumbaya.
second portion of the service is the inspirational lecture. Our speaker today is our pastor, Reverend Steve Adkins. Reverend Adkins is an ordained minister. He is a medium, a healer, a teacher. He's been serving, he is actually the founder of this church. It's been 5 years that he's serving as the pastor of this church. So please help me welcome our pastor, Reverend
Steve. Speech.
That's what this portion's about, isn't it? Captive audience. Well, I was asking what I should speak about, and I got a doozy I wanted to speak about. What happens when we die? So, I'd just like you to take a moment and think about that. As a spiritualist, I don't think anybody dies. But what happens when we make that transition to the other side of life, the next journey, the next steps we're going to take beyond this physical life? Most of the time, we're so caught up with the daily events, the daily efforts, we really don't give a lot of thought to that, because it's a very busy life for most of us. Day in, day out, thoughts, challenges, places to go, things to do. But when you stop and think about it, I'd like you just, I'm not asking you to say anything out loud, but just stop for a minute and think what you think happens when you go to the other side of life. You go to some land where it's all light and happiness. Is there some judgment where you're put in a difficult place or a happier place? Does nothing happen? I mean, there's a lot of different theories of how these things go on and what happens with them. So I'd like you to just take a moment and think about that. What do you really think happens? Do you meet your loved ones? Do you see light? Do you become light? Well, we've heard all these things. So what do you think happens? And after you're done thinking about it, I'll tell you what the truth of it is. The truth and the correct answer is you're all correct. Whatever you thought, however you believe, is correct. Even though there's a lot that goes on with mediumship, there's a lot of different manifestations that come back from spirit, it's still human interpretation about what there is on the other side of life. There's feelings, there's knowings, there's sensings. But through different disciplines, through my mediumship, through meditation, I could share some of my personal observations with you about that, some of my experiences. And it all ties into life on this side. It's not just what happens when you go to the other side. There's an integral flow between the two. Life on this side and life on the other side. They're not separate. There's not a curtain between the two. There's a continuous flow between the two that never ceases. One doesn't end so the other can begin. You don't end a spiritual life so you become a physical life. And you don't end a physical life so you can become a spiritual life. It's all a continuous flow, one to the other. One validates the other constantly throughout your life. To think that there's this drawn line of separation between the two is the trick of the mind. It tries to trick us into thinking that one is one and one is the other. When the truth is that they're so interwoven that there's no difference between the two. They each affect each other. They each influence each other. It's our conscious mind and what we think about it that drives us here. And in the hereafter, we're driven by natural law. We don't have a lot of choices on the other side of life like we do here about our personal existence. Our choices on the other side of life are more longer term, more eternally based about what our life's going to be. Our decisions there are based in spirit. There are still consequences, benefits, different things of those dynamics that go on. The equivalent of that, I'm sure it's a little more in depth, because our mind is a three-dimensional mind. Spirit's at least 5 dimensions. So our mind can only conceive a limited amount of what spirit is like. Somebody said one time that all we see is the shadow of God on this earth because it's beyond our concept to know the totality of that existence. But when we go to the other side, there's this debate. There's a couple schools of thought. One is that you're judged and you're cast out of the happy place if you're not a good person. The other one is it doesn't matter. We all go back to the same place and we're all happy and friends when we go there. Which is it? How does it work? I don't personally believe that either one's totally correct. There's probably elements of both in there. I don't think you can live an unrewarding or an unspiritual life here and have the same benefits as somebody who lives a continually moral, ethical, and spiritual life through here, helping people and helping those that move on. I think that if I were to put an analogy on it, it would be like two people standing in Times Square, one that couldn't read or write and one that was very well educated. If you're standing there on Times Square looking at all the panoramic views of everything that's going on there, all the billboards, all the shops, all of the video, and all of the news media that goes on in that place, who's going to get more out of standing on the same ground? The person that has taken time, and I'm not saying that people that aren't educated are disadvantaged or are in any fashion demeaning them, but this is just an analogy of perception. The person that has the ability to read, the ability to perceive that media, is going to get a lot more out of standing on Times Square than the one that doesn't. And that's similar to what happens on the spirit side of life. You're both standing on the same ground, but the one that has taken time to sharpen their spiritual senses, to believe and trust in those values and that side of life, sees and understands a lot more of their environment than the person that didn't. They understand how to navigate that environment a lot more than the person that didn't. And the less that person that didn't embrace the physical completely, the less they see, to the point to where you have serial murderers, serial rapists, people like that. What I believe happens to them, and what I've seen through my mediumship and different readings and things, is that they feel that they're in a perpetual nightmare that they can't wake up from. They don't go around and pester people on this side of the earth. They have no concept of where they're at. They have no concept of what's happened to them when they die. And they are caught in this belief that they have they just think that they can't wake up from a bad dream. They don't even realize they've died, most of them. And what happens on the spiritual side of life to change that is that all of the angels, all of the healing emissaries of God, all the people that cared about them when they were on this side of life, that are on that side of life, draw around them and begin to promote healing and awakening to them while they're in that state. Because they can't see those people. They don't have the ability to see or navigate that realm at all until they become aware of the truth of that realm. So these healing agencies work with that person until they realize what's going on. They begin to realize slowly and gradually the purpose of where they're at, the realm that they're in, and they begin to become aware. The other thing that I have come to know is that the way you pass has nothing to do with the state of grace that you pass in. Suicide is no different than a natural death. A death is a death. I've had so many people come to me, and I've brought back a number of loved ones that have committed suicide, and they're distraught because they think these people are condemned to some dark place, that they've defied, that they've disrespected God's gift of life so much that they're never going to see the light of heaven. And that's just not true. It's just not true. The way you pass has nothing to do with the way you exist on the other side of life. The way you live this life, the way you believe about this life is what determines what goes on the other side of life. And most people that commit suicide that I have been involved with or have seen or have known that committed suicide, it was this brief moment of insanity and despair that caused them to do that. People that had lived a reasonably good life up to that point. It isn't washed out by that moment of indecision, that moment of insanity. It's the same thing that makes a drunk pick up a drink again, knowing what's going to happen to them. There's that moment of insanity that allows them to do the unbelievable and the improbable. A person's life is not wiped clean by that. I've had people come to me I brought through in a public message service one time, someone's child who had died at 3 years old in a swimming pool in the backyard. And that child came to me in that message service. And it was a very difficult message because I'd never seen a woman before, and it's kind of risky to step out there and say, I got your 3-year-old daughter here that died just a few weeks ago. And I told her that, and she started crying and wanted to know what the purpose was, why. We all want to know why when somebody that we love passes away. And two things were proven to me that day that I knew that I had believed differently about by my training and my knowledge of spiritual beliefs. One, the spirit came back to me as a fully adult, fully matured spirit. It was not a baby in spirit. It did not go to the spirit realm as a child and is not going to grow up in spirit from being a child. Now that was something that was promoted from the 40s to about the 70s or 80s by spiritualist and metaphysical organizations. These children go to the spirit side as children and they're nurtured and they go to nurseries and all these kinds of things. But that one message showed me that wasn't true. And the spirit's message for the parents also dispelled another rumor. The message to the mother was to tell her that I needed to come back for that brief period. I needed that love that your family had for me. And only your family could give me that love for that brief period to allow me to move on with my eternal existence. Now, I'm sure that gave the mother some comfort, but as a human being, I'm sure there was still a lot of grief there. But that dispelled another rumor or another misconception that had been taught to me coming up. And that misconception was that we come back to these families for karmic reasons. And that's just not true. That child came back for that specific purpose of receiving that love for those 3 short years and thanked the mother for it. So there was a very profound showing to me of the existence of the other side of life. And I know that there's different levels of perception on that side of life, as I've described with the analogy of Times Square. Because I had a mother come to me, and I brought through a daughter and a son that had passed. The daughter could see the son, but the son couldn't see the daughter on the other side of life. So there is a division of levels of perception over there, even though they're in the same level of existence. And the final thing that I believe about that side of life is it's all light and love. There is no condemning spirits that torture us and hurt us and harass us until we realize the light. We are our own enslavers on that side of life. Our perceptions, our beliefs are what enslaves us on that side of life. Not some spirit we have no power over that we can't overcome. We have total power within our spirit, total power within our lives here to overcome that which we need to overcome. God has gifted that to us here as well as the hereafter. It is up to us to realize that, to believe it, and to trust it as much here as it is in the hereafter. And the more we believe it and practice it here, the more it will be available to us in the hereafter. So there is a lot of benefit to working this side of life in a spiritual and ethical fashion. And we're going to make mistakes. We're going to make errors. We're going to be human. We're going to scream and shout and cuss once in a while, which is the human side of us that does that. But it should never deter us from knowing the spirit of ourselves within, as I spoke about in the daily thought. Know that spirit of you within, because that spirit within you is as much now as it will ever be in the spirit realm. It is fully potential. It is as powerful as any spirit on the other side of life. There is no way that you can be overcome or overwhelmed if you connect to that spirit and believe in that spirit. Now, that doesn't mean that you're not going to have challenges or difficulties here or hereafter, but you will have a path to solution. You will see solutions, not difficulties that are insurmountable. You will have the fortitude and the drive to continue to try to get a solution if one's not apparent. You will have an inner knowing that there is a solution waiting for you. Whether you know what that solution is or not, you will not be deterred from your path. You will stay committed and stay working regardless of how many, regardless if you find yourself standing by yourself on your beliefs, which I have a number of times. Everybody around me was in an opposite belief from me. And I'm not saying I'm always right, but some of the time I am. And the belief in myself, whether I'm right or wrong, is the purpose. The belief in myself, to defend what I believe, to hold tight to what I believe is what matters. And it's the same on the other side of life. The whole drive on the other side of life is to see the correct perception of that world. Get beyond the beliefs that you took with you from here. I remember I went to Wells, Kansas for about 10 days last year. And me and this guy were talking, and he said, I had a real interesting dream last night. He said, I was talking to God, and we're in this space above heaven. He said, we're above heaven. And God says that's what they think all there is down there, but there's so much more up here, beyond heaven. And that's what I mean. We're bound by our own beliefs on the other side. And the whole drive is to get beyond those beliefs and see the truth of the spirit side of life. Those that believe that they're going to see heaven and hell, that's what they're going to see. Those that believe that they're going to see nothing are going to see nothing until their healing spirits allow them the truth and the light. And those healing spirits are available to us here and now, just like they are in the hereafter. As we get older, which a few of us have, I look in the mirror and I see myself a little bit older. We begin to have more challenges physically, and that begins to consume a lot more of our thoughts. As these things become to be more mortal, they draw us more and more to the thoughts of the other side of life. That's why spiritualism was called the old people's religion for the longest time, because only older people that were getting ready to pass were getting into that state of mind to believe that. But now the consciousness of people has been raised so much through the efforts of the metaphysical world, through the efforts of spiritualism, through the efforts of throwing off the confines of the religions of our fathers and forefathers, to where we are now open to new concepts, to where even young people are beginning to consider this and feel that in their lives and make it an integral part of their lives. It's a wonderful era to be in, to see the integration of the other side and this side embodied in the now. And that's what it is. It's embodying them both in the now. Allowing that blending of the two, not letting one ascend so the other has to be subdued. That's not the correct way. You subdue your physical mind through disciplines, through whatever you try, and at some point it's going to come back with a scream and vengeance and crawl all over you, because it will not be subdued. And the spirit is the same way. When you have gone so far into destitution and despair, it will knock at the door and push those doors open. There has to be a blending and a cooperation of the two, not one superseding the other. There's many variances, there's many gradual integrations between that line of spirit and physical. As you move closer to one, the properties of each are still there. The properties of the physical are still there as you move as close as you can to the spirit with the body. The properties of the spirit are there no matter how close you move to the physical, it's still there, driving you at a cellular level in your body. You can't escape it. I'm going to take a moment and read a quick reading about something about here out of the National Spiritualist Manual. The question propounded by Job, if a man die, shall he live again, has been asked by millions since this day. It has been absorbing thought all down the ages, and even today the question to many minds remains unanswered. Some persons will assert the death of the body ends all, but the census of opinion that there is a celestial as well as terrestrial life, that throughout illimitable space there are places inhabited by intelligent spiritual beings who once lived on earth in mortal form as we now live. I am a spiritualist. I embrace their philosophy, and that's how I guide my life. That does not mean that's the only philosophy, but it is the one that I have found most agreeable to what I believe as an individual. So I say to you at the end of this talk, to find out what you believe, embrace it and hang on to it, and don't be moved off that by anybody around you. God will work with you. Once you commit to what you believe, God will work with you in your own life. And if you are a little bit out of step, you will be inspired by the higher mind of what steps to take. Sometimes human people are involved, but most of the time there is a thought that comes from God first. Everything begins with a thought in this world, whether it's the Eiffel Tower or a to-do list that you're writing down. Every single thing begins as a thought. So take time, as I said, in the mornings to assess yourself, to feel the thoughts, and to allow a moment for God to be involved. So I get ready to close. I'm going to read something. It's from an author unknown. Apparently it's some spirit speaking back from the other side of life to their loved ones. Do not stand at my grave and weep. I am not there. I do not sleep. I am 1,000 winds that blow. I am the diamond glint on the snow. I am the sunlight on the ripened grain. I am the gentle autumn's rain. When you awaken in the morning's hush, I am the swift uplifting rush of quiet birds in the circle light flight. I am the soft stars that shine at night. Do not stand at my grave and cry. I am not there. I did not die. Thank you for listening.